Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. We have in our studio today Chuck Jeffrey. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Mark, good to be back.
Well, Chuck is our collection analyst, but he's more importantly our chief operating officer here at the American Space Museum. Chuck, you're going to do your 20th auction for our museum. Can you believe it?
And I'm excited. It's grown and it's turned into its own life.
Yes, it really has. And I think I came on board about number four. Uh, uh, and Chuck, you've been doing these. About the first 10 was a labor of love, and now you formed a company to help the museum, because this is a big fundraiser for us. 5 or 6 times a year, we're doing these auctions. You have over $200,000 worth of unbelievable items. Chuck, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the collection world and American Space Museum.
Well, the collection world, I started collecting as a child. I got into collecting first day covers. I really I got into this at an early age and I've been enthralled with it my entire life. The American Space Museum used to be over on Main Street. I used to go and visit, and I got started here by installing our surveillance video cameras. It's what I do for a living, and I donated a system, installed it, and that was, I think, 9 years ago now. I've never left.
I believe you ordered some space covers on our website too to get your collection started, and
Well,
now we've got eBay presents, the auction, and all this stuff has come into the door, or people have consigned it to you. So tell us a little bit about our 20th auction, and we're going to look at some lots up there and talk about them in detail. But here's the little
okay.
banner we've got there for that.
First thing I want to do is I want to thank everybody who entrusts us to sell their memorabilia. They consign to our auctions, and the vast number of items that are sold are consigned. So it's without that, we'd have no auctions, we'd have no museum. So I want to thank all those people.
And they get a healthy cut. This is no small chump change you're sharing with them.
No, we get a small cut, they get the lion's share, but that small cut adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars for the museum over the years.
And Chuck, make clear to everyone, we're not selling our collection.
So we never sell anything from the permanent collection of the museum. What we do is if we have items that are duplicates, we try and keep one for display, one for a backup in case something tragic would happen to the display item. And if we have three, four, five, we will sell the excess. It's not part of our display, it's what's known as museum excess.
Chuck, in this auction, there are dozens of autographs of astronauts, space flown items, flags. There's even a little rope that's been on the surface of the moon, is you could buy at this auction. Chuck, just a little bit to give the confidence of our Stay Curious watchers out there, tell us about how you and other people that you're associated with make sure these are authentic items.
Well, the vast majority come from retired space workers. So, when somebody is aged and their family has no interest in their collection, they entrust us. If a family member who worked there has passed away and the family doesn't know what to do with their collection, they entrust us to move it on to other people who will appreciate it. So, the majority of these are from space workers. If it is somebody notable, someone famous, we always put their name on there so you know that this belonged to Gene Sestiel, Charlie Mars, it belonged to an astronaut, whoever it is. These are people you can just Google their name. They're famous.
Mm-hmm. So you know it's authentic from them. But how about the autographs? And you've schooled me a lot on these autographs, and you don't like being called an expert, but you are.
I'm knowledgeable. There are other people who are so much more knowledgeable than I am, and they are my mentors. They continue to teach me, and I learn every auction. But we also have several renowned authenticators look at our items before they go up. So far in all of our auctions, we have had one item that was not authentic. It made it through the auction. It was found out. The person was reimbursed. Everything was taken care of. We've sold thousands and thousands of items. So far, we've made one singular mistake. And we made it right. It happens.
That's a pretty good record there. Tell us about how you can participate in our auction Saturday here at the American Space Museum or online.
So if you go to americanspacemuseum.org, the website, or just Google American Space Museum, you'll see a link right at the very top for the auctions. And because there's several links together, if you want to scroll down a little bit, you'll see another one that says auctions and appraisals. If you have a piece of memorabilia, you don't know what it is, you don't know what it's worth, contact me. I do appraisals for free, just so you know.
And you can contact him by give your email.
My email is chuck@americanspacemuseum.org. And you can visit again. We've opened up a company to do these auctions. It's Bid Again Auctions. So you can also go to bidagainauctions.com. Either one has basically the same information.
And so there you have it. You can bid with confidence, bid till it hurts, okay? But and it's fun to watch, okay? So we're going to go live at 12 o'clock. You can show up here at the American Space Museum.
And that's this Saturday,
Yep.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock Saturday, over 400 lots. It'll go to well after 6 o'clock. But you can jump in and out. I've watched it with an app on my phone. It's quite fun to watch and sometimes pretty amazing what some of these things are going to go for, particularly when you get a couple people bidding for it that want to complete their collection of, let's say, shuttle crews or something like that.
That's the nice thing about auctions. You know, auctions are always a gamble. Sometimes the items go low, sometimes they go high. But in every auction, a few items go crazy because you'll have a half a dozen people who want that same item, and like gladiators, they go to war over it.
That's
and
right.
The prices, yeah, we'll sell an item and everybody in the room will start clapping because they can't believe what it sold for.
We have seen an 8x10 of Earthrise over the moon go for $1,200, I believe. Incredible numbers on that. But
and a picture of Buzz Aldrin on the surface of the moon go for $6,000.
the visor shot,
Yeah.
they call it in the industry. So it's a lot of fun to watch, and you might have some treasures in your closet there, or know a space worker that does. So tell them to, get a hold of us here. You have plenty of stuff. Let's just warn people that it's going to take a couple auctions to cycle the new stuff coming in today.
We have become amazingly popular. We already have enough items for our next two auctions. So right now we're working on the September auction, then the November auction. But we're always looking for more items. Without those items, these auctions do not continue.
Chuck, I'm proud of our auction having set some standard levels of prices out there in the memorabilia world.
We have set world records. We are on websites for having the highest price ever for multiple items, which again makes me so proud that I was able to achieve that for the people who consign the items. When they come to me, I give everybody an appraisal. It's an auction estimate, what things normally will sell for. And when they bring 10 times that amount, I get goosebumps.
Yeah,
I get so happy for those people.
We've had some moments, I'll tell you. It's been some very, and it's fun to watch, particularly when you get people in a bidding war. It is a charity auction, so the American Space Museum does add a 20% charity fee to help support our museum to every sale. So if you buy an object for $100, you're going to pay $120 plus the shipping. We do ship around the world. That has become an issue as prices have escalated. I'm not going to say an issue, but you may want to check their Robert Law in Scotland, what your tariffs are and so forth.
Right.
They're getting out of control.
Well, people in Europe have what's called a VAT tax. It's a value added tax. And anything you buy, the government, as it's imported, charges you a percentage more than you paid. So we've had people who have purchased stuff that were very happy with it. It gets to their home country. The government says you owe me another 400, 800, $1,000, and they're very upset at us. And it's not our fault. We do not do value added taxes. We just ship to your shipping address. So anybody who ships inside the United States and carries it over in their luggage, you don't ever have those VAT taxes.
Mhm. Well, these are things we've learned as we've taken on this project. Now it started. What year did it start? First one.
I think the first one was 2016.
Okay.
And this was, the museum was in very bad financial shape. They were talking about closing the museum. And I put together and arranged our first charity auction. We did so well. We continued on with them. We've done so well that last year they put a plaque on the front of the museum to myself in the auctions, thanking us for keeping the doors open, which I am very proud of.
Right, and I've neglected to bring that plaque up on the slide there, but Chuck, you have saved this museum, and he's of course been a big mentor to me in learning some of this stuff. So I can communicate it to you out there to stay curious that this stuff we have in our museum, we share it as examples of space stuff, and let's see some of these wonderful things that we've got to
this
our
auction,
20th auction here.
This auction is above average stellar.
It sure is. And we've got Shuttles of June, Chuck, that Stay Curious loves to celebrate. The beginning of the month of June, we talk about 11 shuttles in June. We're going to find out what month has the most. I think it's September with 18, if you can imagine that, launched over the 30-year career. But 11 shuttles in June, and we've got some items from our June launches, including this space flown flag from STS-4, the last time America flew just 2 humans to space, because the 2 humans that went on SpaceX were government employees.
And keep in mind,
and there's a crew data fact. So there, what you're going to see. Excuse me a second, Chuck. I just wanted to set up. There's this. You can bid now on these items. All right. And Chuck gives an estimate of what they should go for.
And the STS-4 flag was the last checkout flight for the Space Shuttle Columbia. It was the last test flight. On STS-5, we went fully operational. So this is absolutely a historic flag, and it flew aboard the shuttle the entire mission. So it's got probably, I think it's 3.5 million miles on it.
Crew flight data, you run across those, but this is what the astronauts used for their flight, right?
For their itinerary. This is actually a plan of what they're going to do during the mission, and they have them for all of the missions, STS-1 through 135. These were only available to mission control personnel and flight crews. They weren't available to anybody at a gift shop.
Interested in a space flown flag, Chuck? Name some others that we have in the auction.
Well, I believe we have an STS-1 and STS-3 flown flag. We also have a flag from every orbiter, and every one of these flags is truly historic. So we have a flag from STS-1, a flag from STS-135, the first and last shuttle flights, the maiden flight of Endeavour. I mean, all of these flags are historic. One flown aboard Enterprise during the approach and landing tests. For every orbiter, one lot, 6 flags. You'll have to read the description, but it is truly amazing the significance of every flag in this lot.
Well, I didn't pull that lot up, but I saw it. But over 400 lots on there. You may see them all and place your bid. There's also several flags that have orbited the moon. Correct?
We have one flag that flew on Apollo, Apollo 9, which is a flown flag and patch. We do not have any flags that orbited the moon in this auction, but we do have items.
I'm in error there.
We do have items that flew and orbited the moon. We've got items from Apollo 12, Apollo 14 that actually orbited the moon. We even have the lunar safety line carried by Edgar Mitchell to the surface of the moon, spent 3 days on the moon.
Yeah.
So it's a great item, and it's certified by NASA. You don't have to worry if it's real.
We have one in our collection here for people to see, and that should go for $700 to $1,000 in our auction. We'll see Saturday, won't we?
Absolutely.
Couple other, we want to just highlight some of the interesting things on there. Sally Ride, this is STS-7, launched a June shuttle, of course, launched in space history on June 18th. We celebrated that on Stay Curious the other day. Sally Ride's 3 bids on that, up to $60 as of the other day when I pulled this off. She's worth $200 all day long. And then talk about the crew signed, how collectors love those.
Well, crew signs, anything, are always desirable. Most of the things that are signed by the crew are dedicated, to Bobby, to Jerry, to Sarah, whatever. These are uninscribed, meaning the entire crew signed them, but they don't have a person's name on them. So for collectors, these are gold. These are things they can hang in their office, in their man cave, and that nobody's coming up and saying, hey, who was Sarah? I don't remember her. Yeah, well, she's just a name that was on there. We don't know who she was. So the undedicated ones are always the most collectible.
Right. And you have a slew of them in there, and I find it fascinating. You can really get in the bidding more over these if someone wants to complete their collection of 135.
Well, and we have several of the hardest to obtain of all the shuttle missions, including STS-131. I looked at it the other day. It was up to $750 for a single crew sign lithograph. The only reason is they're so rarely come to market. Everybody wants them. Nobody has them.
And that's because, why?
Because the crews didn't sign.
Or
you couldn't get the entire crew to sign. You get certain members would be good signers. Certain members just didn't want to sign. Mm-hmm. So, and then as you got to the last missions, STS 131 through 135, a lot of the members didn't want to sign. And so those are all extremely valuable.
We'll look for that. And of course, then when a crew member passes away, that nixes any more crew signed on those.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it kind of puts an end to it.
We've got lots of firing room access badges, unique badges. This one happens to be Apollo 17 from a gentleman named Sestiel. And here we have Gene Sestiel's STS-36 flight crew book alongside of Sally Ride's, her second flight. This polo shirt, girls, is really cute. And I'm telling you, it's a size small, but she was a petite mini lady. But tell us a little bit about Gene and why people would be honored to have his badge in his briefing books.
So Gene Sestiel is one of those people where you can just Google the name. He is famous. He is the launch vehicle test conductor. He is the man who was responsible to make sure that Saturn V was ready for launch day. So his badges are extremely collectible. This man was on every part of the spacecraft, involved with every facet of its launch, and he was in the firing room wearing these badges on the date of the launch. And we have been lucky enough to not just sell this. Every mission badge that Gene Sestiel had kept from his missions, we sold quite a few over the last 2 auctions. These are the last of them. There will be no more.
Mm-hmm. And how'd you hook up with Gene's family?
Well, Gene's wife, Pat, came here to the museum. He had left a substantial collection, and she didn't know what to do with it. She had no idea of value. I can tell you nowadays, she goes, oh my God, I had no idea it was so valuable.
And she's driving a new car around, probably. I mean, really, there's some serious money in space memorabilia.
I know several people who have consigned their collections with us, have purchased trips around the world, have purchased new vehicles. Mm-hmm. But these are people who didn't keep 1 or 2 items. They kept hundreds of items. And they kept them from important missions, and they're important people. So they bring a premium.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's look at a few other items here. Here is a very important figure of our space history. Tell us about Joe Schmidt.
Okay, so Joe Schmidt's another one of those. You can Google him. He's famous. He is the spacesuit tech, and he started in the Mercury program, and he helped the astronauts get their suits on, make sure they were properly fitted, sealed, functional, because this is a self-contained life support system. And he did this all the way through the space shuttle program. So much like Gunter Wendt, he's just a famous person for the launch of the vehicles. He was invaluable in getting everything ready and getting these guys suited up into the pad on time.
Well, the next lot we're going to share is the Sultan's jacket. And another shuttle of June was STS-41G, launched June 17th, 1985, with Sultan bin Salam. And he was 28. He's now 65 and still involved in the Saudi Space Agency. You can own his jacket.
So one thing, and it's kind of funny, 2 years ago, the Sultan had given a set of patches to a launch pad worker who had us sell them for her. And the patches were identical to what are on this jacket. Now, they had never been sewn on, but they were his, and they had a letter from him giving her the patches. So when this jacket came in, I immediately knew what it was and where it came from. So the Sultan only flew one time. He was a crowned prince, and he flew one mission. And 3 of the patches on here were made exclusively for him by his own country. There are no others. There were no other source. If they didn't come from the prince, they didn't come. There's no aftermarket. You can't buy them online. This is it. And to have them sewn on a jacket by his people, and the jacket was given, this is truly a historic item. It's beautiful also. I mean, it's really nice.
What size is the prince? Remember?
I don't know. No,
Okay.
it's I can tell you the jacket is a size medium.
Okay, yeah, well, that's what we're driving at. He's
Okay.
All right, well, let's roll a little snake eyes here, okay? Why do you have a pair of dice in there, Chuck Jeffrey?
Okay. So, there was a gentleman, his name was Al Bishop. And Al Bishop was a friend of the astronauts. This is one of the very few civilians who was allowed in astronaut quarantine quarters just days before the launch. And Al was a guy who used to help do the astronaut insurance covers. These, and we've sold these before. We have one in the auction today.
See one in a minute here.
But these covers were signed by the entire crew, kept by the families in case they would perish, they would die on the mission. Then these covers could be sold by the families because they couldn't get decent life insurance. So Al Bishop is one of these guys who helped instrument and facilitate this for the astronauts. And he was a friend of all the astronauts. But he and Gene Cernan were especially close friends. And you'll see something later from Stuart Roosa, who was also a very close friend of Al. So these dice were reportedly flown to the moon on Apollo 17 by Gene Cernan. Now, I say reportedly because this is what Al told his family, and he had so many items that were flown, but he never wrote a letter on them. So this does not have a letter from Gene Cernan or from Al Bishop, but knowing the history of his relationship, I have no doubt these were in fact flown. They have Apollo 17 on one dice, Al Bishop on the other dice. They've been engraved in there, and they're truly a special find.
And you can own those, all right, and impress your friends, playing a little craps, perhaps, with the moon dice.
They are not loaded.
They're not loaded. Well, you can own a rocket, an honest-to-God Rocketdyne engine, and quickly tell us a little bit about the provenance of this and why we're helping these people out.
Okay, so this is an S3 Juno rocket engine. Now, if you need something to get you fast down I-4, this is 170,000 pounds of thrust.
Wow.
This engine was used in testing the Juno rocket engines. It never flew, but it was fired. And this is currently on display at a museum. It's been there for almost 20 years. It is a museum quality display. It has been restored. It's simply beautiful. And it is the only one I have seen auctioned in the last 20 years.
You're expecting what price range on that?
We're expecting between 150 and 200,000.
All right. Perfect addition to your man cave out there, your space cave. We got a couple other rare items here, like this. What are we looking at there, Chuck?
Okay, so anybody who's seen a Mercury spacecraft, a Mercury Redstone, or a Mercury Atlas rocket knows at the very, very top is a little red tower and a little red rocket motor. This is one of those rocket motors, and this one is real. This was used during the Little Joe tests of the rocket motors back in 1960. This one actually has damage from it impacting the ground. It's on a specially made display stand that's included, and it is, and I've done a lot of research on this, as far as I can tell, this is the only Mercury Escape Tower rocket engine to ever be offered at auction.
And you're expecting what kind of price range?
We're expecting $70,000 to $80,000.
Chump change to somebody out there to put that in
You
their
know
rose
what?
garden
If
out
you've
there.
got it, you're the only one who has it. There
That's
are
right.
no others.
That
So
would be some bragging rights.
there's some bragging rights.
Well, the insurance covers you mentioned. Here you have the men of Apollo 11, Neil, Buzz, and Mike.
So this one is from the personal collection of Command Module pilot Michael Collins, who passed away last year. A fantastic guy. This was, again, facilitated by Al Bishop, who got all of these signed, would go down, get them all canceled on the day of the mission. And this is why Al Bishop was the friend of the astronauts, man. He was there to help them do all of this stuff that they were doing for their families. And in one particular case, a really great gotcha to the astronauts. So just an amazing history on Al Bishop.
And these insurance covers of the Apollo 11 crew sell for what kind of price range?
We're expecting this to go to $8,000 to $10,000.
$8,000 to $10,000.
$8,000 to $10,000. Where a regular crew signed Apollo 11 cover would be closer to $4,000. But this is from the personal collection of a prime crew member.
Mike Collins himself.
And I'll tell you what, the Neil Armstrong insurance covers are going for $30,000. So Michael's a good, affordable alternative.
Wow. Buzz, of course, the only one alive, age 92. And, well, we won't tell the joke about Buzz Aldrin unless you want to. And
No.
Poor guy, he's 92. Well, this is a very rare object on there. Tell us what we have there.
So this is a flown in space for a substantial amount of time. This is a Russian in-flight coverall suit and jacket, complete with all the patches and everything as flown. And it comes with a COA from Sergei on the flight and how long it was flown. It is in museum quality condition. It's really in great condition. I'm not sure where we're going.
Sergei.
There we
There's
go.
Sergei. I was trying to go to Sergei in space, not wearing this, but he was on the.
This is a later mission, yes.
Later mission, but he's been over 200 days in space. That's part of his wardrobe inside.
And it is actually signed on the suit, and it's also signed on the COA, so it's double certified by him.
Great item to have for sure, particularly if you could wear it at our Cosmic Masquerade Ball in October. We'll see about that. Now we're going to go through some items that you have some of, but...
Okay. So space food is always a big collector's item. It's not huge money. Usually, $200, $400 will get you a nice piece of space food. These are probably leftover, not flown. But again, there is no records on what flew and what didn't fly. We can tell you that it was for flight because of the little blue Velcro dot. and the barcoding.
In the lower left-hand corner,
Correct.
it's a blue Velcro dot for them to put it up on the
To
Velcro
attach it
wall.
to the bulkhead or so it didn't float around. But again, there's no records on flight status for this. So unless it comes directly from the astronaut who flew it, we don't advertise it as flown. We just advertise it as authentic space food.
Moonwalker Harrison Schmidt told me that if you see food that has been billed that has been in space and you have it, it came back from space because it tasted horrible. That's what Schmidt told me one time.
Well, and then you got certain missions that are
We
cut,
didn't eat it. He
cut.
says that's
There's
where it came back.
certain missions that were cut short, scheduled for several days,
Yeah.
and there's always something that happens. But yeah, some of the food I've heard is not so great.
So we've got a shuttle tile there, and I don't know how many tiles if this is the only one you have, but
Well, we have different types of tiles. This is an HRSI. This is a high temperature reusable surface insulation. This would be the black tiles that you would see on the bottom of the space shuttle. These take unbelievable amounts of heat. This one was, I believe, a training tile. We have both flown and training, but I think this particular one was used in training, and it's stamped in the top. It says for training. So they would mount it, they would remove it, they would get down all of the procedures needed to do the tiles on the orbiter in training before they would be allowed to work on an orbiter.
and Chuck says that'll go between $400 and $600.
Absolutely.
And you've got always a lot of coins, some space flown. We got hundreds of postal covers.
Well, and for me, I got started collecting on space memorabilia with covers. That's the very first thing I ever collected was covers from the Mercury and Gemini program. And so I've always got an affinity for space covers. This is a great collection. There are so many missions involved. It's great. Also with the coins, people collect these coins. They're almost all made of bronze. And as you can see, these are almost all in their original display case in very good condition. And again, you collect what appeals to you. There's so much to collect. You want to do what you like, not what someone else wants.
And those are mostly shuttle missions in this particular two lots.
Yes.
And the shuttle postal covers are stamped with the date of the launch.
They're stamped with the date of the launch or a particular, like launching a satellite or landing. They're called event covers because they are postmarked on the date of the event. So they're not all just launch. They're not just landing. You'll see some of them that have 2 postmarks, 3 postmarks, because they'll have one cover with a postmark for launch, for the spacewalk, the satellite launch, whatever they did, and the landing. So a lot of these you'll see with multiple postmarks.
And you're holding history in your hands of that date. That's
Absolutely.
always so neat when you hold something from 1969 with a July 16th date on it. That's the date of Apollo 11's launch 52 years ago.
Postal covers are the only collectible memorabilia that is certified by the U.S. government. By having that postal cancellation on the cover, it states it was here at this date in time by the U.S. Post Office. So it is the government certifying the authenticity of the item.
Well, we're having a great conversation with Chuck Jeffrey, collection analyst, our chief operating officer here at the American Space Museum. We got a few other items to show you, just a sample of some of the 400 items that you can bid on this Saturday, starting at noon. Go to our website, and it'll direct you to the online. Or if you're in town, come on down, meet Chuck personally, and get involved with the bidding down here. A couple other items. There is a light pole fixture with a COA, as well as a whole bunch of pins going on there.
Okay,
so Marty, go back there. There we go.
So the light pole at the very top of launch pad 39A was a light next to what's called the beanie cap. The beanie cap went over the external tank, the orange tank, and it would suck up any erroneous gas that would be on the outside of the orbiter. That was the idea of the beanie. As that gas went up the side of the tank, that cap would recirculate it back and there would be no explosive gas left out on the launch pad. So, and the walkway to that beanie cap was this light, and there's a picture of it mounted to the pole. This is a section of the pole and the wiring harness. And the reason I know this light fixture so well is we sold the original light fixture many auctions ago.
And that's from our good friend at the museum, your personal mentor, Ken Havicott, one of the world's experts in space memorabilia and autographs.
And
Ken
so
always has great items in our office.
And when you see Ken's autograph on a COA, you see that Ken Havicott Space Coast Cover Service, I can tell you right now, it is exactly what it is claimed to be. Ken has proven himself to have very high morals and integrity, and without him, I would not be sitting here today. So he is truly one of my mentors.
He certainly is a great guy. His wife, Teresa, also very involved in their business. And he typically has astronauts in his home looking at his own memorabilia. And a couple more items here. Yes, another space-flown shuttle tile with the paperwork. Okay, and a thermal insulation gap filler that is stamped. All important to have the provenance of things, right, Chuck?
Correct. So with flown tiles, you can have reportedly, apparently, or actually flown. Reportedly means someone told you it flew and it looks like that. Apparently, you look at it and you're like, wow, this flew, but there's no paperwork. Then you have actually flown, like this tile on the left-hand side. This tile has all of the removal paperwork, the disposition paperwork, everything from it being removed to the shuttle and taken out to scrap, which is the red tag, scrap tag.
Mm-hmm.
So this is rock solid proof. All the serial numbers on the paperwork match the tile. You know this tile flew. You don't know how many missions it flew on. You just know the mission it was removed on. So this could have flown on a dozen shuttle missions. There's no way to know when it was installed, only when it was removed.
And Chuck, you estimated $100 to $200. Look at that bid. That makes you smile. It's already up to $325.
Well, the 100 to 200 is definitely a typo. That's definitely a typo. So this should go for between $500 and $800 for a flown tile as average.
Seemed a little low to me. Of course,
Yeah,
you're the one that schooled me, Obi-Wan. So
well,
I
and
thought, wow, that's but yeah, $325 now. It's getting respectable.
yes, that's the low side. But again, it's a beautiful flown tile. It's a nice collectible for display.
Now the gap filler there.
Gap filler's brand new, never used. This gap filler would go in between two tiles, two components, anything on the exterior of the shuttle where there wasn't a perfect fit. You can't have any place for that hot plasma to get to the orbiter. So if there is a gap, they would fill that gap with one of these silica gap fillers. And again, these are very high temperature resistant, and they keep any hot gases from getting to the aluminum structure of the shuttle, which again is what destroyed the shuttle Columbia. There was a breach in the thermal protection system.
Because of a hole punched into it. But yes, so just a couple more items here. There is a kind of an interesting picture of the Apollo 16 recovery ship, and I threw that in there because of the red number Chuck's going to explain, but then also there's our good friend that you and I met thanks to Marty Winkle's Grumman event back in February or January, I mean. Charlie Duke signed items there. And
Okay.
So tell us about the red numbers in this unusual photograph.
So the red numbers photographs are among the most collectible of NASA photographs. The red number tells you the mission, the roll of film, and the frame number it was taken on. These were for official NASA use only. These were never given out to the press or to any people. These were for internal use, making them the rarest and hardest to come by of all the photographs. The red numbers weren't put there to be collectible, they were put there to be informative, to tell whoever's looking at this photo exactly how to find the original color positive that made up that mission. So you've got them on all of the official NASA photos, whether they're color or they're black and white. They all have this number in the top left-hand corner as an identification.
And if they are a lunar photograph that you sell many of, boy, that really skyrockets the price on there.
And
Tell us
then,
about Charlie Duke.
okay, so I want to correct you. I've known Charlie Duke for many years. Charlie Duke consigned a piece of the lunar module Orion to my very first auction and donated it to the museum to help us out. One of those big ticket items that actually help bring those numbers up enough to really make a difference. Hugely, hugely popular, humble, intelligent. I can't say enough words about Charlie Duke, and always a supporter of our museum. So anytime I can sell anything of Charlie's or that's he signed, I'm always proud to do so.
Yeah, he's special, and you've had him sign some personal things of yours. He's just one of the great guys. What can you say? And one of 4 of the 12 moonwalkers who are still alive, and he's 86 years old. So
86 years old and looks like he's 68 years
yeah,
old.
he
He's
does.
really in great shape.
A lot of energy. It's amazing to see him and his wife, all the people at the Grumman event. Marty, what an awesome event you guys throw.
No, Dottie's with him all the time.
And here's a couple other items dear to our heart. The, of course, Apollo Command Module, and that is signed by Fred Hayes, I would say, right?
Well, not only is it signed by Fred Hayes, but he actually signed it on the location of the oxygen tank explosion, where the damage occurred to the to the command module, the command service module. So it's just, and he notated that on the model. So this is just a great notation on there. Fred, again, is a huge supporter of the museum. We sell a lot of items in our auction that'll say ISC, Infinity Science Center. This is Fred Hayes' charity, and we sell the items, and every cent goes to the Infinity Science Center. This is in honor of Fred Hayes and all of the contributions he has made to the American Space Museum. We do it to make him happy.
And of course, he's a good friend of our godfather, Charlie Mars. They go way, way back in the Apollo Gemini program, I think, even. And we are grateful to you, Mr. Fred Hayes, for all you've done for our museum. His Infinity Space Museum is awesome. I've been there twice myself. It's right at the border of Louisiana. Louisiana, Mississippi, Fred's hometown of Biloxi in there. And you got an interesting statue there. By the way, Fred's signed module there is up to $375, which is about the cost of the model. So we know that'll double. And but the interesting first step, a bronze cast statue, pretty interesting, one of a kind item. I understand you got the provenance from the artist.
Well, and it's a well-known piece. It was very limited edition, and it shows Neil Armstrong taking his first hesitant step off the lunar module, and it's a very heavy, stout piece. It's a solid cast bronze, and it's another one of those pieces where you just never see these in a complete. I've seen 2 in the past, both of them broken. So this is the first one I've seen that's actually in pristine, as cast condition.
The great moment. That's what Mr. Paul Calley calls his similar painting of this. The great moment. I like that. Well, Chuck, we got the last slide here to show everybody. Thought we'd show our girl of the month there. No, what have I got there? Oh yeah, I snuck another one in there because not only are your auctions so valuable items in there, they're actually quite educational, because many of you might not know what the heck SMEAT's all about, but Chuck's going to tell us.
So SMEAT is the Skylab Medical Experiment Altitude Test.
Good job on that acronym.
Hey, without any cue cards.
Yeah.
So they put these guys through I believe it was an 80-day test, living in the Skylab space station simulator, to make sure that they could actually function and use the equipment and everything would function before they sent one into space. And we have a cue card, a lunch card that was signed by Carol Bobko that was used during the time. We have a beta cloth that was signed by Bob Crippen, who was another member. And we have the photograph there is signed by all three. And again, this is just a piece of history a lot of people are unaware of, but just a great little piece of Skylab history in these lots.
Well, they become aware at it when you visit our space museum, because we've got Bob Crippen Smeet clothing suit on a mannequin that we call Bob Smeet, the mannequin here and we have a nice display of Skylab stuff here in our museum, a very underrated, important program in the chapter of America's great space history. Chuck, we got one last picture here of our girl of June, our lady of June, I should say, Sally Ride, signed portrait of her there. That's up to $60 a couple days ago. Certainly worth a lot more than that in there. You got some nice items from her in this auction in there.
And I want to say we also have, and I don't know if you have a picture of it, we have Sally Ride's STS 41G shirt in this auction.
Yes.
And John McBride was the pilot on this. He's also a friend of the museum. And I took this shirt to John McBride, who told me that it is definitely from the mission, and it is probably flown because they didn't put the mission patch on during training. But again, there's no paperwork for this, so we say probably flown. But it's a very unusual chance to own a shirt that belonged to and was worn by our first American female astronaut, Sally Ride.
That's lot 337 is where that shirt is. Well, just let me go up there real quick and to show you what Chuck was talking. There it is right there on there. Chuck actually let me borrow that to talk to a few chambers of commerces. And when I held it up, I said, ladies, this is a size small in 1984. And it's a tiny shirt for sure.
Well, Sally Ride was a tiny girl. That's evident once you look at her clothing. Yes, definitely a small girl.
Well, Chuck, thank you very much for a wonderful enlightening us about your auction. Can't thank you enough for all that you've done personally for the American Space Museum. And my personal thank you for mentoring me. After all, I call him my Obi-Wan Kenobi because he has mentored me with a little bit of knowledge, which is dangerous to understand at least cursory the value of some of this stuff, and how you out there need to own some of this. So tell us again, when is our auction? So, how we can participate in
you can come here to the museum, 308 Pine Street in downtown Titusville. Come here at 12 o'clock noon on Saturday. Come a little early. It's an event here. We have great people who are regulars. And if you don't want to come to the museum, go to americanspacemuseum.org, register for the auction, come online, bid, then bid again.
Bid till it hurts.
Yes.
Watch it online. I've got it on my smart tablet, on my phone.
And please remember, unlike every other auction in America, these auctions benefit the American Space Museum. It's what keeps our doors open. It's what keeps our educational programs bringing kids in from all over the world. Without these auctions, there would be no museum. So please, please support us.
Chuck, thank you for all you do, sir. And like he said, check us out at the AmericanSpaceMuseum.org. Our website will take you to everything you need to know about the auction by clicking up at the top. So thank you, Marty, for running a great Streamlabs show here. Can't thank you enough, Chuck. Is there anything that I didn't ask you'd like to share with our friends?
No, we've got it covered. It's a great auction. It's going to be a great day. Come down live. It's an event here. It's nothing online is ever going to beat being there in person. I am the auctioneer, and I love a room full of people. Believe me, I will keep you happy. I will keep you laughing. I make this fun.
And you can come late, okay? If you can't come at noon, we're going to be here at least till 6 o'clock. So
yeah,
if you want to come at 3 o'clock, something like that, please do. and
Our
take part in
average
it.
auction runs 7 hours. We start at 12 noon. We usually finish between 6:30 and 7:30. So an average of 7 hour auctions.
Well, thank you, everybody. You want to be there or be square, I guess. So appreciate everybody supporting our American Space Museum through auctions in any way that you can. So until our next Stay Curious program, I'm Mark Marquette, and
I'm
we'll
Charles
see you,
Jeffrey.
and we will see you again to bridge the space between us.